Welcome in, everyone. Thank you very much for joining me today. Hope you guys are doing well and hope you had a good NFL Week 8 weekend. So, we got a lot of good stuff to talk about today. Another exciting weekend in the NFL. We're going to talk about most of the games. We're going to take a look and see which teams won, which players played really well and stood out. And I'm just going to give my overall take on what I saw. So, some specific games we're going to talk about. We're going to take a look at the Thursday night football game between the Los Angeles Chargers and Justin Herbert versus Carson Wentz and the Minnesota Vikings. We're going to talk about the Ravens game where they finally get a win and looks like the Ravens might be back on track. We're going to take a look at the Jets getting their first win of the season. And the most anticipated game of the weekend was the Sunday night football matchup between the Pittsburgh Steelers and Aaron Rodgers going against his former team, the Green Bay Packers, and Jordan Love. So, very exciting weekend in the NFL. Before we do jump into that, I would like to mention that on my YouTube channel, I create content about money, sports, and personal topics with the goal of bringing value to other people's lives. So if you guys find value in this video, subscribe to my YouTube channel so that I can continue making these videos. All right, let's go ahead and jump into NFL Week 8. All right, guys. So the first game we're going to talk about is the Thursday night football matchup between the Minnesota Vikings and the Los Angeles Chargers. So this was Carson Wentz of the Vikings versus Justin Herbert of the Chargers. So we can see that the Chargers had a blowout win, 30. They improved to 5-3 on the season, and the Vikings fall to 3-4. So a big win by the Chargers in this one. And let's take a look at some of the game leaders. All right. So for the Minnesota Vikings, Carson Wentz, he went 15 for 27, 144 yards, one touchdown, one interception. So not a very good game by Carson Wentz. Justin Jefferson had 7 receptions for 74 yards. And on the other side, Justin Herbert, 18 for 25, 227 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. So a very good game by Justin Herbert. And their running back also had 117 yards rushing with a touchdown. And McConkey had 88 yards receiving with 1 touchdown. So this was a nice game to kick off NFL Week 8 weekend. So the Vikings, their starting quarterback, J.J. McCarthy, he's been out several games now. And Carson Wentz has replaced him, and he's played pretty well, but not well enough. So I think the Vikings and the Vikings fans are very excited to get J.J. McCarthy back in the starting lineup, and I think he's going to be starting next week. So solid job by Carson Wentz these weeks while McCarthy was out, but I think the Vikings are going to be better with JJ in the starting lineup. So the Vikings are still a pretty good team. They're 3-4 on the season. They have a good defense. They have Justin Jefferson on offense. So if they just get solid quarterback play, I'm sure they're going to be in the playoff mix. On the other side, Los Angeles Chargers, Another big win for them, 5-3 on the season. They're one of the better teams in the AFC. Justin Herbert playing really well all season long. He's probably the most explosive quarterback in the NFL, meaning he's always throwing the ball downfield. He's always got a lot of yardage on his stat line, and the Chargers are not shy to show off his arms. So I love watching Justin Herbert play. It's never boring. He's always throwing bombs down the field, and he's got his team in a pretty good position at 5-3, and we'll see if the Chargers keep on rolling. All right, so the next game we're going to talk about is the game between the Cleveland Browns and the New England Patriots. So this was a matchup between Dillon Gabriel of the Browns versus Drake May of the Patriots. So two young quarterbacks going head to head, and the Patriots get a big blowout win, 32-13. They improve to 6-2 on the season, and the Browns fall to 2-6. So let's take a look at some of the game leaders in this one. For the Cleveland Browns, Dillon Gabriel, 21 for 35, 156 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. So Gabriel's kind of all over the place. He makes some good plays, but then he makes bad plays as well. So it's just kind of hard to put him in one bucket or the other, whether he's a good quarterback or not. He's just too inconsistent at this point. On the other side, for the Patriots, Drake May, he went 18 for 24, 282 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. Very good game by him. He's having a MVP type of season. His wide receiver Hollins had 7 receptions for 89 yards. So these two teams, they're kind of going in different directions this season. The Browns are 2-6. They have a lot of issues at the quarterback position. They started the season with Joe Flacco, but since then they traded him to the Bengals. They then put in Dillon Gabriel, who's been struggling ever since he started. And I'm definitely curious to see if they're going to put in Shedeur Sanders anytime soon in the coming weeks. I think that's to be expected just with how Gabriel has been playing so far. So even though the Browns are not really going anywhere this season, I find their quarterback situation interesting. And I'm definitely excited about seeing Shedeur Sanders get a chance to start and just to see if he might be the Browns' quarterback solution long term. And also for the Browns in this game, Myles Garrett, their defensive end, he had 5 sacks in the game, so he's having a really good season. The Browns' defense is pretty good, even though they gave up 32 points in this game. So if the Browns can figure out their quarterback situation, I think the team would be pretty good going forward. So nice job by Myles Garrett with the 5 sacks, and we'll see how many sacks he ends up with at the end of the year. For the Patriots, looks like they found their long-term quarterback. Drake May is having a really good season. He's considered an MVP candidate on some people's ballots. Probably not going to win it, but just the fact that he's mentioned in that conversation is very good for the Patriots. And it's good to see the Patriots playing well again. having a winning season. And I think the NFL is good anytime the Patriots are playing well and are one of the best teams in the NFL. So we'll see how far the Patriots and the Drake may go. And I love their head coach. I love their quarterback situation. So I think the Patriots have a really bright future going forward. So we had a pretty good matchup in the NFC East division between the New York Giants and the Philadelphia Eagles. So this was a matchup between Jackson Dart of the Giants against Jalen Hurts of the Eagles. And the Eagles played really well and get a big win, 38-20. They're 6-2 on the season, and the Giants fall to 2-6. So let's take a look at some of the game leaders in this one. For the New York Giants, Jackson Dart, 14 for 24, 193 yards with a touchdown. And for the Eagles, Jalen Hurts, 15 for 20, 179 yards. He had 4 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. So a really, really good game by Jalen Hurts. I think this is the second game in a row now that he's thrown over 3 touchdowns or more. So he's been getting a lot of criticism for not throwing the ball a lot, um, specifically to his big wide receiver, A.J. Brown, and that he doesn't throw a lot of touchdowns. But these last 2 weeks, he's definitely thrown the ball down the field and thrown a lot of touchdowns. So that's good to see for the Eagles offense. Also for the Eagles offense, Saquon Barkley had a huge game, 14 carries, 150 yards with 1 touchdown. And similar story with Saquon Barkley. He's been having a subpar season compared to last season where he was setting all kinds of records. He was rushing for over 100 yards each game, it seems like. So he finally has a big breakout game this season. And the Eagles' offense looked really, really good in this game. So if they continue to play like this, they're going to be hard to beat. Their wide receiver, Smith, had 6 receptions for 84 yards. So he definitely contributed as well. So a big win by the Eagles, a big offensive game by them. And I think they quieted a lot of people down as far as criticism of their offense. All right, so what else can we say about these two teams? So we got the New York Giants. I definitely like watching them and Jackson Dart, their rookie quarterback. Um, he's definitely up and down, but overall, I like what I see from him. He's definitely very energetic, and he brings a little bit of an attitude to the team, and I definitely like to see that. And I don't think the Giants are going to be very good this season, but just going forward long term, I think the Giants are going to be a good team with Jackson Dart, and their offense and their defense is good as well. So, um, not the best season this year, but a bright future for the Giants, nevertheless. For the Eagles, this was a very impressive game. Again, I mean, they scored 38 points. Like I mentioned, Jalen Hurts, excellent game, 4 touchdowns passing, Saquon Barkley over 150 yards. So this is, if you're an Eagles fan, this is what you needed to see from the offense. And they finally put it all together. And They look like the Super Bowl winning Eagles of last year. So we had a interesting game between the Chicago Bears and the Baltimore Ravens. So this was a matchup between Caleb Williams of the Bears versus Tyler Huntley of the Baltimore Ravens, who's in for the still injured Lamar Jackson. So this was an interesting game just because the Baltimore Ravens definitely needed to get a win to keep their season alive. And that's exactly what they did. So they won 30-16. They're 2-5 on the season. The Bears, they fall to 4-3. And the Ravens are going to have Lamar Jackson coming back. So they're hoping to turn their season around fairly quickly here. So let's take a look at some of the game leaders in this one. All right, for the Chicago Bears, Caleb went 25 for 38, 285 yards, 0 touchdowns, 1 interception. So the yardage is pretty good, but 0 touchdowns, 1 interception is not good enough. So another disappointing game by Caleb Williams. Just when you start to see, some consistency in good play, um, it seems like he takes a step back. So another, inconsistent performance by Caleb Williams. So we'll see if he eventually turns that around. Um, their wide receiver Odunze had a pretty good game, 7 receptions, 114 yards. For the Ravens, Huntley went 17 for 22, 186 yards, 1 touchdown. Derrick Henry had 71 yards rushing with 2 touchdowns. So that's a good game by Derrick Henry. And Zay Flowers had 63 yards receiving. All right. So these two teams are definitely two of the more interesting teams in the NFL. Um, I definitely like to watch Caleb Williams just because you're not really sure what you're going to get from week to week. He definitely has exciting play, and he's must watch television, um, but that doesn't always you know turn into good play and a win. It's just interesting to watch him develop and play each week to see if he improves. And with his head coach Ben Johnson, it's just interesting following that relationship, watching the two of them try to gel over the season. They have good moments, good wins, but then they have bad moments and losses. So the Bears are definitely a team with some drama, but I still believe in the Bears, and I think they're going to be a very good team. For the Ravens, so going into this game, they were 1-5. This was kind of a make or break game for the Ravens for their season. If they lost, they would have been 1-6. It would have been very, very hard to climb out of that hole. But they get a win. They're 2-5. They have Lamar Jackson coming back. They get a couple more wins. They're going to be around 500 for the season. Their division, the AFC North, is not very good. Steelers struggling, Bengals struggling, Browns are not very good. So still a lot of season left to play. I wouldn't be surprised if the Ravens win the division at the very end. And at this point, just from watching the Steelers play and the other teams in the division, I feel good about saying that the Baltimore Ravens are going to win the division, even at 2-5. I'll take Lamar Jackson, you know, over those other quarterbacks on any day. All right, so let's check out the next game. Buffalo Bills versus Carolina Panthers. Josh Allen versus Andy Dalton, who was in for the injured Bryce Young. So we had a big blowout in this game. Bills win 40-9. They're 5-2 on the season, and the Panthers fall to 4-4. So a big win by the Bills. Panthers, I mean, even with a loss, they're still 500 on the season. So still a lot to look forward to for the Panthers this season as well. Let's take a look at some of the game leaders. For the Buffalo Bills, Josh Allen, he went 12 for 19, 163 yards, one touchdown. So kind of a quiet game for Josh Allen, but he really didn't need to have a big game. Running back James Cook had a huge game, 19 carries, 216 yards, two touchdowns. So that's as good of a game as a running back can have. So very, very impressive by Cook. Their wide receiver, Shakir, had 88 yards receiving with a touchdown. So everybody was contributing for the Bills. Let's check out the Panthers. Andy Dalton, 16 for 24, 175 yards, zero touchdowns, one interception. So not a good game by the backup quarterback, Andy Dalton. And their wide receiver, McMillan, had 99 yards receiving. So one-sided affair in this one. Josh Allen continues to play well, reigning MVP. He's having a really good season. He's got his team sitting at 5-2. Huge game by his running back, James Cook. So he's getting some help from the running game. And his defense is playing really well, only allowed 9 points in this one. So just another very good game by the Buffalo Bills, one of the best teams in the AFC, one of the best quarterbacks. So not much more to say about the Bills. For the Carolina Panthers, I mentioned Andy Dalton, backup quarterback, in for Bryce Young. Very bad game by him. Even the starting quarterback, Bryce Young, I don't know if he would have played much better than Andy Dalton. I'm not a fan of either of them two as far as quarterback play. But the Carolina Panthers are sitting at 4-4 on the season. That's definitely better than I expected after 8 weeks. So we'll see what happens with the Panthers. We'll see if they are in the playoff mix at the end or if they're gonna start to tumble from here. So that's it on this game. So one of the more exciting games of the weekend was the game between the New York Jets and the Cincinnati Bengals. So I definitely was not expecting this game to be very exciting, but it definitely was, as you can imagine from the score. So this was a game between Justin Fields of the Jets and Joe Flacco of the Bengals, and it went right down to the wire. Um, the Jets were winless on the season, 0-7 going into this game, and they get their first win of the season, 39-38 over the Bengals. The Jets improved to 1-7 on the season, and the Bengals fall to 3-5. So let's take a look at some of the game leaders in this one. All right, New York Jets, Justin Fields, 21 for 32, 244 yards, one touchdown, zero interceptions. So, pretty good game by Justin Fields. Brees Hall had a big game, 18 carries, 133 yards, two touchdowns, and he had an awesome passing touchdown, actually, where they gave him the ball in the backfield and he faked it like he was going to run it, and then he just threw it towards the back of the end zone, and the receiver caught it. So, excellent game by Brees Hall. And let's jump over to the Bengals. Joe Flacco, he went 21 for 34, 223 yards, two touchdowns, zero interceptions. So, another good game by Joe Flacco. Ever since he's been traded to the Bengals, he's played really well, and he's just what the Bengals needed with the Joe Burrow injury. They needed a steady veteran who would give them good quarterback play, and that's exactly what Joe Flacco has done. Samaje Perine, 94 yards rushing with a touchdown, and Jamar Chase had 91 yards receiving. Yeah, so this game was definitely very exciting at the very end. Um, the Bengals led the whole game, and it just looked like they were going to win, and the Jets would fall to 0-8. But in the fourth quarter, Justin Fields and the Jets, they played really well. Um, they eventually got the go-ahead score, and they went up 39-38. The Bengals had the ball at the very end with a chance to take the ball down the field, get a field goal, possibly touchdown. But the Jets defense stepped up and stopped them, and that was the game. So very, very nice to see the Jets get their first win of the season. Um, I'm happy for their head coach, Aaron Glenn, first year head coach, got his first ever win as a head coach. So that was good to see. And yeah, that's what happens when you're winless on the season. When you get a win, it feels so good. So, not sure how happy the Jets should be with this win and this season, but I'm sure they're going to enjoy it. For the Bengals, I mean, they played well. Again, Joe Flacco played well. This was a big game for them just because their division, the AFC North, is very tight. They're not too far behind the Steelers. So if they had won this game, they would have inched closer to them. So a big disappointing loss for the Bengals. But they're still in it this season. They're 3-5, and I'm sure they're going to be in the playoff mix towards the very end. And also, I'm looking forward to hopefully Joe Burrow coming back towards the end of the season. So if Joe Flacco can just kind of keep them steady around 500 for the season, towards the end of the season, and then Joe Burrow comes back, that'll be interesting to watch for sure. So, next, we're going to talk about my hometown team, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They played against the New Orleans Saints. So, this was a matchup between Baker Mayfield of the Buccaneers versus Tyler Shough of the New Orleans Saints, who was in for Spencer Rattler, who got injured. So the Bucks get a nice win, 23-13. They improved to 6-2 on the season. Very good record. The Saints, they're 1-7, one of the worst teams in the NFL. So let's check out some of the game leaders in this one. So Baker Mayfield, he went 15 for 24, 152 yards, zero touchdowns, zero interceptions. So kind of a quiet game for Baker. He usually throws for a lot more yards in the 200s, sometimes 300 yards. He usually has a touchdown or two. So a quiet game by him, but he'll take the W. Um, for the Saints, Spencer Rattler started the game. He went 15 for 21, 136 yards, zero touchdowns, one interception. And then the rookie quarterback, Tyler Show, came in. He went 17 for 30, 128 yards, zero touchdowns, one interception as well. So, very bad quarterback play for the Saints in this one. They only scored 3 points. Alvin Kamara, only 21 yards. So, very bad game by the Saints in this one. What else do I want to say about these teams? So, Tampa Bay Bucks, just like every year, they're always one of the better teams in the NFL. And I like how Baker Mayfield is playing, having an MVP type of season. Not sure if the Bucks are quite on the Green Bay Packers, Philadelphia Eagles, Detroit Lions level. Um, I don't think they are. I think it's the same old Buccaneers. I think they're gonna be really good in the regular season. They're gonna make the playoffs, but they're not gonna make a serious dent in the playoffs relative to these other teams that I just mentioned. So we'll see if I'm wrong. I hope so, because I definitely root for my hometown team, but I gotta see it to believe it. And for the Saints, again, one of the worst teams in the NFL. Um, we'll see who their quarterback of the future is, Rattler, Tyler Shogue, or somebody else. And we'll see what happens with their star running back, Alvin Kamara, if he stays with the Saints or not. All right. So, next, we're going to talk about the most surprising team of this NFL season, and that is the Indianapolis Colts. They went against the Tennessee Titans. So, this was a matchup of Daniel Jones of the Colts versus Cam Ward of the Titans. And as we can see, the Colts, they just keep winning, 38 to 14. They improved to 7-1 on the season, best record in the NFL. And the Titans fall to 1-7. So just an amazing season by the Colts. Nobody was expecting this, and they just keep getting the wins. So let's take a look at some of the game leaders in this one. For the Titans, rookie quarterback, number one overall pick, Cam Ward, 22 for 38, 259 yards, one touchdown, one interception. So just like pretty much all the other rookie quarterbacks, he's kind of all over the place. He's got some good stuff, but then he's got some bad plays as well. So hard to predict or project if he's going to be a good quarterback long term or not. Let's go to the other side for the Colts. Daniel Jones, he went 21 for 29, 272 yards, three touchdowns, zero interceptions. So another very good game by Daniel Jones. Um, and honestly, I don't know where this is coming from because Daniel Jones has been a very inconsistent quarterback prior to this season. Um, so I just don't know where this, good play is coming from this season. I don't know if it's just time. I don't know if he did something different. I don't know if it's a new environment, but it's really good to see him having success and turning his career around. So I'm hoping this is not just like a fluke or like a one time thing or one season thing. I'm hoping like this is legit and that Daniel Jones is this quarterback solution for the Colts. He also had a lot of help from his running back, Jonathan Taylor, 12 carries, 153 yards, two touchdowns. Wide receiver, Michael Pittman, had 95 yards receiving with a touchdown. So a lot of guys are contributing for the Colts, and they have a really well rounded team. So, what else to say about these two teams? The Tennessee Titans, again, one of the worst teams in the NFL, right along with the New York Jets and New Orleans Saints. Their rookie quarterback, number one overall pick, Cam Ward, he's having a so so season. You want to see more from a number one overall pick, but it's still early, so we'll see what happens there. And for the Colts, again, the best record in the NFL. Daniel Jones playing really well. Jonathan Taylor might be the MVP at the running back position. So I think we're all waiting for the Colts to kind of fall off and to regress back to the prior years Colts where they struggled a lot, but they just keep winning. And I mean, at 7-1, they're legit at this point. So we'll see. Um, they're definitely an interesting team to watch. The most anticipated game and the most exciting game of the weekend was definitely the matchup on Sunday Night Football between the Green Bay Packers and Pittsburgh Steelers. So this was Jordan Love of the Packers versus Aaron Rodgers of the Steelers. Aaron Rodgers facing his former team where he spent 18 years of his career. So this was must watch TV. This was must see quarterback competition. And it definitely did not disappoint. Um, well, for me personally, I guess it did disappoint because I'm a big Aaron Rodgers fan and I'm rooting for the Steelers this season because of that. And I'm definitely disappointed that they lost because they had a great opportunity to go to 5-2 on the season, but instead they fall to 4-3. And on the other side, the Packers improved to 5-1-1. So very exciting game, but disappointing for me personally. Let's take a look at some of the game leaders in this one. Green Bay Packers, Jordan Love, 29 for 37, which is 78.4% completion percentage, 360 yards passing. Amazing. Three touchdowns, zero interceptions. So this was one of the best games that I've seen Jordan Love play, as the numbers show. Um, he definitely proved that the Packers made the right decision by sticking with him and going with him over Aaron Rodgers. Um, so very, very impressive game by Jordan Love, and we'll see if he continues the good play. For the Packers, their tight end, um, Kraft, he had an amazing game, seven receptions, 143 yards with two touchdowns. I mean, he was just running all over the Steelers defense. He had a lot of yards after a catch. Um, just very, very impressed by him. And he might be one of the best tight ends in the NFL. So good job by the Packers. On the other side, Aaron Rodgers, he went 24 for 36, 219 yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. So a pretty good game. I would say very good game by Aaron Rodgers. Um, this is kind of what you were hoping for from him as a Steelers fan. He gets over 200 yards passing. Um, he's got 2 touchdowns. He didn't turn the ball over, 0 interceptions. I mean, this is as a Aaron Rodgers fan and as a Steelers fan, this is really what you hope for from Aaron Rodgers. So I think he played really well, and I think he should be proud of his performance versus his old team. Um, his running back Warren had 62 yards rushing, so not a lot of help from the run game, but it was okay. All right, so let's talk more about this game and these two teams. So the Green Bay Packers, one of the best teams in the NFC, they really have been playing well the whole season. Jordan Love, he's got all of his weapons now. He's got Romeo Dobbs, Christian Watson. We mentioned the tight end Kraft. Um, so he's got a lot of receiving options. He's got a good running back, Josh Jacobs. Um, we all know about the Packers defense and that they traded for Micah Parsons. And Micah Parsons was all over the field. He was making a lot of plays. He had a sack as well. So, I mean, the Packers look so good um, in all three phases: offense, defense, and special teams. It really, I think it all comes down to Jordan Love. If he plays well, like he did in this game, I think the Green Bay Packers can be in the Super Bowl. But if Jordan Love doesn't play as well when he plays against good teams, um, I don't think the Packers can make the Super Bowl. So, not to put a lot of pressure on Jordan Love, but I think that's just how it is. And this was a big game for him as well. I mean, he wanted to play well against his former teammate, Aaron Rodgers. He looks up to him. So, he definitely showed out in this one. On the other side, Pittsburgh Steelers. Again, Aaron Rodgers played well. I'm proud as a Aaron Rodgers fan. I was happy with his game. But these Pittsburgh Steelers, man, they just in these like crucial games, they just don't take advantage of them. So for example, last week they played the Cincinnati Bengals, which was a in division game, huge opportunity um, to go up in the division. Um, they would have been, 5-1. They lose that game and they go down to 4-2. All right, that's fine. We'll accept that. They're 4-2. That's still pretty good. They get another opportunity, get to play the Packers. Yeah, the Packers are tough, but if they get a win, they would be 5-2. That's still really good. One of the best records in the NFL. And they end up losing this game. So it's just that like these critical games, like these season turning games, they're not performing well. So I'm definitely skeptical about the Steelers. Their defense is just very bad. They have a lot of big names on defense, but the results are very bad. They're one of the worst defensive teams in the NFL. Aaron Rodgers, again, he's carrying his weight. He's being a good teammate, playing well, but the defense is just horrible. And I'm not sure what the solution is. I don't know if there's a trade. I mean, you can't change the whole defense with a trade. So I'm not sure what the solution is. I'm just hoping that the Steelers play well enough. They're going to be in the playoff hunt towards the end. But the Bengals are playing pretty well with Joe Flacco as their quarterback. The Ravens are going to have Lamar Jackson back. They're going to be back in the mix. So I think these past two games were an amazing opportunity for the Steelers to beat the Bengals and Packers and get ahead in the division. They could have been 6-1, and then from there they could have just kind of cruised the rest of the season. But they lose those two games. They're 4-3. The Bengals look pretty good. Ravens are going to be playing better. So this could be like a season-defining moment for the Steelers these last two games. So I'm hoping that's not the case. I'm hoping that they pick up on the defensive end. Rodgers is going to play well. So I'm hoping that the Steelers pick it up and end up winning this division, but they got teams on their tail for sure. So very disappointed as an Aaron Rodgers fan and as a Steelers fan for this loss and the previous one, but I'm going to be optimistic and be hopeful. They're still first in the division, and we got a lot of football left to play. The last game that we're going to talk about is the Monday Night Football matchup that's going to happen tonight between the Washington Commanders and the Kansas City Chiefs. So, this is going to be a matchup between Marcus Mariota, who is going to be in for the injured Jaden Daniels, versus the Kansas City Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes. So I don't know if this is going to be a fair fight. Um, Marcus Mariota, backup quarterback, versus the best quarterback in the NFL. So this game is going to be played in Kansas City. And as we can see here on the bottom right, the win probability, the Chiefs are huge favorites at 83%, Commanders only 16. So I'm definitely going to agree with that. I expect the Kansas City Chiefs to win this game pretty easily. Um, if the Commanders had Jaden Daniels, um, I think it would be more competitive or closer. Um, but with Marcus Mariota, I honestly just don't think the Commanders have a chance. So the Chiefs should definitely win this game. But you never know. They still got to go out there and play the game. So maybe the Commanders' defense has a good showing versus Mahomes. Maybe Mariota has a good game, but more likely that the Chiefs get an easy win on this one. If they did, they would improve to 5-3 on the season, which would be pretty good compared to how their season started. The Commanders would slip to 3-5, so that they would have some catch up to do there once Jaden Daniel comes back. But not much more to say here. So let's go Chiefs tonight. All right, guys. Before we wrap things up for today, let's go ahead and take a look at the standings in the NFL after week 8. So let's go ahead and start with the AFC. AFC East, New England Patriots 6-2, Buffalo Bills 5-2. So I think this division is interesting just because a lot of people thought that the Bills would easily win this division and be the number 1 seed in the AFC, but the Patriots are playing really well, so there's definitely some serious competition there, and I'm not sure who's gonna win the division. I would go with the Bills. I think they're the better team, but the Patriots are definitely gonna have a chance. AFC North, right now the Steelers are in first place at 4-3, but the Cincinnati Bengals are playing well with Joe Flacco. They're close behind, 3-5. The Baltimore Ravens just got a win with a backup quarterback, and Lamar Jackson is coming back, so they're going to be getting wins. So I don't know. I think the Steelers honestly missed out on an opportunity these last 2 weeks to get wins, or at least one win, and get ahead of these other teams in their division. So I think the Bengals and Ravens are definitely going to catch up and pass the Steelers at some point. AFC South, Colts 7-1. Jags are playing okay. They're going to have a chance to make the playoffs, but the Colts should win this division easily. AFC West, a lot of good teams here as well. Broncos 6-2, Chargers 5-3, Chiefs 4-3. I think the Chiefs are the best team in this division. I expect them to stack wins going forward. I think the Chiefs are going to be in first place in the division, then maybe Chargers, and then Broncos after that. But a lot of good teams in this one. All right, let's go over to the NFC. NFC East, Eagles 6-2. They're clearly the best team in that division. The other 3 teams, they're just kind of all over the place and not very consistent. NFC North, Green Bay Packers just got a big win over the Steelers. They're 5-1. Detroit Lions are really good, 5-2 on the year. Bears, can't really rely on them. And the Vikings, can't really rely on them with their quarterback situation. So Packers and Lions should definitely make the playoffs out of this division. Not sure which of those 2 teams I like better, the Packers or Lions. They're both very dangerous, but we'll see where they end up. NFC South, Tampa Bay Bucks in first place at 6-2. The other interesting team there is Carolina Panthers. They're 500 on the season. We'll see if they are in the playoff mix towards the end or if they fall off. And in the NFC West, a lot of good teams playing well in this division. Seahawks 5-2, Rams 5-2, 49ers 5-3. I think the best team in the division is the Rams, Seahawks, and then probably 49ers, but hard division to pick there. All right, guys. So that's all I wanted to cover for NFL Week 8. I hope you guys got some value out of this content and enjoyed it. If you did, again, subscribe to my YouTube channel so that I can continue making these videos. And I'll see you guys next time. Take care.